Presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
An absolutely picture-perfect summer night in downtown Cincinnati. We welcome you to Great American Ballpark. The opener of a three-game series between division rivals. First trip into the Queen City for the Milwaukee Brewers, who find themselves 6.5 games behind the front-running Reds in the NL Central. And the Reds are looking to try and get back on track after a very rocky week, dropping 5 of 6. And a pleasant good evening to you alongside Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. This Brewers team, with the advent of an additional wildcard team, Chris, they're still in it despite being under 500. But as far as the division is concerned, they are looking at this as a big-time series, and they're missing a lot of big-time pieces.
Well, you're right about that, Tom, and they've got some excuses for not playing great baseball this year. They've got tons of injuries. They've lost 40% of their rotation. They've lost 33% of their lineup. You're looking at Sean Markham and Narveson. Both those are starting pitchers. And you're looking at 6, 7, and 8 in the order. Now, you may say, well, big deal, bottom third of the order. But when you miss all those guys, Lou Croy, catcher up the middle, Alex Gonzalez, shortstop, when you lose guys like that, very key pieces to your puzzle, and you try to do fill-in teams, and it just doesn't work. Fill-in players aren't nearly as good, obviously, and this is why it's a good year for the Reds to have a good year, because this division is wide open. I'm not so sure that the Milwaukee Brewers can make a run.
Well, if they're going to, it's going to be on the back of the reigning league MVP and Ryan Braun.
Well, Ryan Braun simply continues to be Ryan Braun. The kind of numbers that he puts up every year shouldn't surprise anybody. I know that he had all the performance enhancement controversy surrounding him over the wintertime. But the fact is the guy's got 20 home runs. He's going to drive in a whole bunch. Now, why teams pitch to him with runners on base if they don't have to is a mystery to me. He is their version of Joey Votto. He's the one guy in this lineup that you really cannot allow to hurt you. And but time after time, he does. As you see, he's already got 20 bombs.
Reds have only played the Brewers 3 times so far this year, winning 2 of 3 at Miller Park, and they'll try and continue that trend in the opener here tonight. But before we get to the first pitch, Chris, we're going to talk about what's going on at the closer spot after a rough week for the team and a rough week for Aroldis Chapman. Up the rest of the night, brought to you by Thompson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drain Cleaning. Here's our old buddy, Tim Hedrick.
Matthew Adam Latos on the mound, 6'6", 235 pounds. When that ball comes at you, it really comes at you. Beautiful evening at the ballpark. 81 to start, 70 when you're going home. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
Chris, yesterday, second time in his last 2 outings, he's been beaten on home run balls. Should the Reds be concerned about Aroldis Chapman?
Well, you know, when you've got a young guy like Aroldis Chapman exposed as a closer, you're going to have some growing pains. And he gave everybody kind of a spoiled look at what he can do when things are going perfectly for him, when he was blowing everybody away with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. But it doesn't last forever. He is human, as Dusty Baker said after the ball game. He's just going to have to figure out how to get guys off his fastball, throw his breaking ball for strikes, maybe mix in a change-up here and there, but do what other pitchers do also, which is locate your fastball when you throw it, because if you throw it 98 down the middle long enough, somebody's going to time it.
All right, we're set to go. Good matchup here tonight. Matt Latos will get the ball for the Reds. Giovanni Gallardo, the Brewers opening day starter, collide next on Fox Sports Ohio. Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by the 2012 Ford F-150 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By Cincinnati USA, let us be your travel guide to Cincinnati. Visit CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Game time is Skyline time. Stop by your favorite Skyline Chili tonight. Reds have taken the field here at Great American Ballpark on a beautiful night. Good crowd on hand for the opener of this 3-game set with Milwaukee. And Ron Renick's starting lineup presented by AXA Advisors. Aoki leads off in right, Morgan in center, Ryan Braun in left. Former Cub Aramis Ramirez at third, Corey Hart now playing first with Ricky Weeks at second. And a ladder third of Martin Maldonado, Cesar Izturis, and Giovanni Gallardo. On the mound, gunning for win number 6 in his Reds career, although a very high ERA for right-hander Matt Latos.
Well, he had a very bad month of April. He had a very good month of May, and he's faltered a little bit here in June, to be certain. He's coming off a bad outing. That last time out against the Cleveland Indians only went 4 innings of 7-run baseball overall. He liked to right the ship. And one thing about Latos tonight, he's getting 1 extra day of rest. So you got to figure that this big right-hander who throws hard anyway will be extra strong tonight. Sometimes that can be good for a pitcher. Sometimes that can be bad. Makes you feel like you're so strong you don't need to spot the baseball. But as you know, against a pretty good offensive team in the Brewers, you better spot it, you better change speeds, and use all your pitches tonight.
Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by your Ford dealers, and the return tonight of Drew Stubbs off the disabled list. Nice to have him back. Regular group along the infield, and a battery of Latos and his running mate, his buddy Ryan Hannigan. Stubbs just activated off the disabled list prior to the game tonight after making 3 rehab appearances at Single-A Dayton. He went 1 for 10 during the rehab.
That's a tough league, I'll tell you. Miguel Cairo went 0 for 10. Stubbs went 1 for 10. Figure out the math on that.
So here we go. Norachika Aoki getting the start in right field tonight. Latos delivers strike 1, and this one underway at Great American Ballpark.
Pretty good hitter right here. He won the batting title in Japan a couple of times. He had close to 360. A very good veteran hitter that'll use all the fields. He kind of gets a running start on the ball as he slaps at it, but he'll hit that ball to left field, and especially that left center field gap. Plus speed, a very good defender, good arm.
Brewers won the negotiating rights for Aoki back in December of last year, and then signed him to a 2-year contract after the turn of the new year.
Yeah, they call those the posting bid, I guess, where you post a certain amount of money up to the team for which this player played for, and then they make him available to you to talk to that team. So they get a little money out of it, and so does the player.
Latos falls behind Aoki at 3 balls and a strike.
Now the key for Latos now is just not let little things that go wrong bother you. Keep your body language good. Keep coming after the hitters. Use your good stuff, and don't let little things, make you go the wrong way. I think you got a break on that pitch right there. That ought to lift the spirits a little bit.
Tim Timmons calling the balls and strikes. Jeff Kellogg at first. Eric Cooper at second base. And Marty Foster, the umpire, is at third. Kellogg is the crew chief. And Latos has walked the first batter of the game, and already you talk about that body language, Chris, and immediately it is not good from the Reds' right-hander.
No, and it's what you really want. I mean, some pitchers are going to show their emotions on their sleeves, and Matt Latos is an emotional guy, and you can't ask him to change that. But what you would like to do is just say, you know what, when you're on the hill, you're the man. You're the guy that we're running out there once every 5 days, and we need you to be the man. And sometimes how you carry yourself will help you go a long way that way. They're looking for a bunt here. Rolling really shallow at third base.
Well, Aoki can run a little bit now, and this is very much a running Brewers team. He has 9 steals in 11 attempts, and we have seen clubs start the running game frequently against especially 2 starters in the Reds rotation, Latos and Homer Bailey.
Well, not so much Bailey this year, but definitely Latos. 12 stolen bases, yes, 1 throw him out.
Good bunt there, and Votto gets to it, and no throw. It's a bunt hit by Nyjer Morgan, and the Brewers have 2 on for Ryan Braun.
Now, that is about as good as you can lay it down right there, but nonetheless, if you're Matt Latos, you've got to get your behind over there to first base and not stop at all. I mean, you don't think you're going to field this ball, so you shouldn't go at it. You got to keep running right there, but maybe Votto got in his way, and you know what? Sometimes a bunt is so good that you just can't defend it. I think that is in that category.
So 2 on for Braun, the reigning National League most valuable player, became the first Major League player to have a positive drug test overturned when an arbitration panel ruled in his favor on appeal during the offseason and decided against what was initially a 50-game suspension. And many wondered how Braun would handle all of that coming into this year. Well, the numbers speak for themselves. .319 batter, 20 home runs, 52 runs batted in. Slight delay while the third base umpire Marty Foster apparently got something in his eye.
Well, how many of us have had an eye examination with all the Reds country watching?
Not very many.
Yeah. Now, you know what? You can always tell them to go use the good eye.
Of course, when you're an umpire and all of a sudden you have anything at all wrong with your eyes or an eye, can you imagine the ammunition the fans then have back behind the Milwaukee dugout? Well, hopefully Marty's all right. He's still scuffling with it down there.
I think Scott Rowland just said, use your good eye. Don't worry.
So Braun comes in on a roll right now. You see an 18-game hitting streak. 2 on, nobody out. We're just underway in the first inning. And it's ball 1.
Well, that same spot is a spot that Matt Latos is trying to hit. Inside the lefties, outside the righties, and he's just missed just off that corner.
One and one on Ryan Braun. Aoki and Morgan aboard, and he tried that outside corner and found it this time to even the count at 1-1. Beg your pardon, the first pitch in the at bat was a strike, so it's 1 and 2. You see the numbers for Braun during this hitting streak. Wow, nearly 350. So many times during the last number of years since Braun came up from the minor leagues, we have seen him have at bats like this. Fall behind a couple of strikes, and then Chris, extremely tough to put him away.
You know, the good hitters are like that. Look what happened to Joe Mauer yesterday against Aroldis Chapman. A 10-pitch at bat before he finally got a ball into the gap for over the outfielder's head for a double. So the good hitters do that. Joey Votto is the same way. I mean, and you're wondering as a pitcher, all right, well, what do I have in my arsenal now to get this guy out with? Because he's spoiling good pitches. This is what you've heard your little league and your not-whole coach tell you for a long time, ever since you've been, Luke's age. Spoil the good ones. Now you got 2 strikes. Protect the plate. Spoil the good ones. And that's what the good ones do.
Latos a long look in on the sign from Hannigan. Aoki and Morgan at second and first. Struck him out on a high fastball. 1 out.
Well, you look at your arsenal and say, what do you have? How about 93 upstairs 4-seamer? And that's exactly what Latos throws him. That ball did not sink one bit. Right at the top of the strike zone. That's a good spot to get Ryan Braun.
Well, Braun comes in red hot. So too is Aramis Ramirez. 7 home runs and 23 batted in with a .349 batting average over the last month. 14 hits in his last 34 at bats with 9 batted in. This guy has always been among the best run producing players in the entire National League. Really ever since he initially came up with the Pirates and many good seasons with the Cubs. Brewers gave Ramirez a 3-year, $36 million contract. He knocked in 93 runs and hit over 300 in his final year with Chicago in 2011. Ramirez today celebrating his 34th birthday. Boy, it seems like he's been around even longer than that. Two and one.
Well, he's a guy that early in his career you could throw him fastballs in early, then breaking balls away, and he would invariably chase those nearly every time out. But he's become a little more patient as you get older. A guy like Ramirez becomes a little bit better of a breaking ball pitcher, a guy that really rarely misses a hanging slider when you dish it up there.
I am stunned the Reds are playing him defensively the way they are. He has had so many base hits into right and right center field through the years, especially when you get runners in scoring position, and especially when you get now 2 strikes in an at bat against him.
Yeah, that's a great point. The 2-strike point right there is that he'll become a little more defensive. He had 2 big swings right there that swung right through fastballs. But Brandon Phillips is playing him very snug towards the bag at second base. They're playing him to pull, no doubt.
Are you surprised by that?
A little bit, yeah.
In the air, right center field. First try for Stubbs, and at the warning track, he's got it. Aoki tags, advances on to third. Staying at first is Morgan, and there are 2 out. And 1 more big out to go here in the first for Matt Latos.
Well, he didn't get that ball all that well, but that ball carried all the way to the middle of the warning track to deep right center field. Boy, it heats up here in Cincinnati, and you get a ball into the air, you better hold your breath.
Well, it's really going to heat up for the final game of this homestand. I mean, tonight's as perfect as it gets. Low 80s. Same again tomorrow. Very low humidity. But boy, on Wednesday afternoon, you're talking about that temperature racing up into the 90s. So they're on the corners for Corey Hart. Breaking ball in there, strike 1. Hart only at 247, but we know he has some pop in that bat. 15 home runs, 33 runs batted in. They've moved him from right field into first base after the injury to Matt Gamble. Of course, for years and years, they had the big fella, Prince Fielder, down there at first base. And not only apparently do they miss the production of Fielder, that's understandable. But for those who really followed his Brewers team, apparently they really miss his presence in the clubhouse.
Yeah, he was a guy, Tom, that I think was very undervalued by the rest of the league. But when you talk to Brewer teammates, or you talk to people that follow the Brewers around every day, they tell you the guy never took a day off. He never took an at bat off. He ran out every ground ball, every pop up. He was really the heart and soul of this ball club. The team that won the division last year, and they're wondering what happened this year. Of course, other than injuries, and they've had a ton of those, it's just tough to repeat, especially when you lose a major cog like Prince Fielder.
Oh, and 2 now on Hart. Blew him away on a fastball, and a nice recovery by Latos. First 2 reached, retires Braun, Ramirez, and Hart to end the inning. certainly pleased to have Drew Stubbs back in their starting lineup and hoping that he can kick things into gear here over the final 3+ months of the season after a very slow start. Now the Axe Advisors starting lineup has Stubbs behind Cozart, then Joey Votto, middle third of Phillips, Bruce, and Rowland, latter third of Ludwig, Hannigan, and Latos. Well, you take away 2 starts against the St. Louis Cardinals by Giovanni Gallardo, and this guy's numbers would look a lot better, Chris, than 6-5 with a 4.2 ERA. He has been on an unbelievable roll.
Well, he really has. He's had 3 quality starts in a row. The team has won 8, or the team is 8-7 in games that he's won, but they've won 5 of the last 6 times that he's taken them out. Where he has had a problem, though, is right here in Cincinnati at Great American Ballpark.
So his career numbers up over 5. And that is against the Reds, not just in this ballpark.
Well, you know, the Brewers are 1-5 in his last 6 starts here in Cincinnati. So he may punch out a lot of guys and get a number of strikeouts and so on, but he ends up getting the L, or at least the ball club does, more often than not when he pitches here in the Queen City.
Let's take a look at our Farmers Insurance report card on Giovanni Gallardo. Talk about the 2 games against St. Louis. I mean, he was lit up. But look at everything else in the other 13 starts. Those are excellent numbers.
Well, he's a good pitcher, and he has a little different pitching style as far as his delivery than Matt Latos, but he'll pitch a lot like Matt Latos. He's a real long arm pitcher that he'll throw his fastball at the top end of the strike zone. And he'll also try to throw that breaking ball, kind of a 12-6 curveball right from the very top. He reminds me a little of Jim Palmer in his delivery, the way he's got a long arm and comes right a high arm angle from where he throws.
2-0 on Stubbs, who has not played at the big league level since he was initially injured. That strained left oblique, swinging at a pitch in his last at bat for the Reds on the 5th of this month against the Pirates. Reds waited a long time to put him on the DL. And by the time they finally did, he had a short stint on it. Well, this Reds offense would go a long way to becoming a far more consistent run-producing group if Stubbs could find a way to be the player that he really was in 2010. Really struggled in 2011, only 7 doubles this year, batting average in the 230s. And he draws a walk. A few more of those would help. Take a look at Milwaukee defensively, presented by your Ford dealers. Morgan, flanked by Braun and Aoki. Ramirez is Torres, Weeks and Hart along the infield. Our first look at Martin Maldonado, who is taking over for the injured Jonathan Lucroy, although he is one of the guys they are expecting to get back, Lucroy.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. That Lucroy has a broken hand that he sustained in kind of a weird injury. Evidently a suitcase fell on him when he was on a road trip. But in the meantime, they've got Martin Maldonado, a young man out of Puerto Rico who can really throw the baseball. And you just wonder here if Drew Stubbs and the Reds are going to push him and see how good arm he really has.
Of course, Dusty Baker's asked about it all the time, about, you know, the Reds' virtually non-existent running game, and he's quick to point out you got to get guys on base to start guys running. And of the guys that can run on this team, they have infrequently been on base. Case in point, Stubbs. There he goes, and it's in the air to right. And it's caught. And a double play on a good throw will end the inning. So when you do start a runner, a little bad luck. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. What do you think about this, Chris?
Well, I'll tell you what, these 4 pitchers up there, they've got consecutive active win streaks are out there, at least without a loss. 12 of them for R.A. Dickey, 11 for Latos, 10 for Matt Cain, and A.J. Burnett, 9. But look at the earned run averages there. You see Dickey has really earned it, so is A.J. Burnett with earned run averages under 2. Matt Latos right now is a guy that simply is getting a whole bunch of runs in his support. So you want to see him run his record up there because you can't always guarantee that your team's going to score runs when you take them out. Right now, they're doing it for Latos. And this is what we were talking about. Lance Lynn still leads the world in the amount of runs that he is supported with by the Cardinals. Matt Latos second in the league.
Tell you that, Wade Miley, what an unbelievable start to a major league career he has. He beat the Cubs yesterday, allowed 1 run. ERA, what, under 2 already, right?
But it also helps when your team scores a bunch of runs. It takes the other team away from their small ball approach. You know, if you're up by 6 runs, they're not going to start hitting and running. They're not going to lay a bunt down for sacrifice. Little things like that. So double plays and lots of runs. Those are pitchers' best friends.
Weeks is gone swinging. What a horrific start to this year for the former All-Star second baseman Ricky Weeks.
Now this has always been a weakness for Ricky Weeks, is that breaking ball. That's a good one there by Latos. Never really looked like it was going to be a strike, but Weeks is just so anxious to hit himself out of this slump that he's chasing about everything.
Pirates are opening a series 1 game behind the Reds in the National League Central Division in Philadelphia, and the Phillies are still batting in the bottom of the first inning with a 4-0 lead. Interleague play now behind us in 2012. And 1 to Martin Maldonado, 257 batter in his first 24 games with 5 home runs and a surprising number, 16 runs batted in. That's a pretty good total for a guy who's played less than a month.
And he also has 7 bases on balls, only 13 strikeouts. So he's a guy that looks, even though he's young, that he has a pretty good idea at the plate.
To your right 3, fastball at 95, and you can't drop it in there better than that.
Well, Latos has some late life on his fastball, and if you watch his front side, when he makes his delivery, where he puts that left foot down, he gets really great clearance over his hips, and he gets way out there with great extension. That's the only way you're going to get that ball to back up on you a little bit when you throw it to the first base side of home plate. That's the reason he has that late life.
7 of 8 batters. Latos has thrown a first pitch strike tonight. This is Cesar Izturis.
Now, right now, the hitters are at a definite disadvantage, not because Latos has got good stuff necessarily, but also that batter's eye, as you see, straight dead center field. That's a hard background to pick up the spin of a baseball on right now. We've seen some awkward swings.
That is a fair ball to Votto. He will feed Latos, and it's a 1-2-3 second inning. Reds coming up in a scoreless game. Great American Ballpark, presented by our friends from Kroger. NASCAR drivers Bobby Labonte in town. The largest collection of racing show cars, simulators, and interactives ever in the Ohio-Kentucky region on display out in the fan zone. And, boy, if you're going to talk about NASCAR, the first man you think of in the world of NASCAR is with us in the booth, none other than the king himself, Richard Petty, an inaugural member of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and that is one sweet ring you got there. Yeah. Did you have that made, or did they give it to you?
I worked for it. Okay, a lot of people work for that. I just happened to be the recipient of it. But you know, you got to figure how much it took just to get me to win races and do what I did. So it's a family deal, family heirloom now.
Well, you come from obviously a family. Your father,
right.
Legendary driver, but no one. Mr. Petty has done what you have done in NASCAR. 7 championships, won over 200 races. That ball hammered into right center field, and it will be caught by Morgan. Are you excited about the weekend coming back to Kentucky again?
Yeah, we're a little really more excited about this time coming to Kentucky than we did last time. Because, you know, we had a little bit of problems getting people in and out of the race. That's hopefully it's been solved. I think that's been solved. So now we can all, and everybody can really concentrate on the race and really get serious for the race. First race, first time you go anywhere, it's kind of a scattered deal anyway. Drivers don't know what's going on. The crews don't know going on. Now they've got a little bit of experience up here in Kentucky, and from that standpoint, I think it'll be a lot more racy racetrack than what it was in the past.
What does it mean to the whole sport to bring Kentucky into NASCAR and you know, just this part of the country?
You hit it just right. This part of the country, they have a lot of race fans all in this general area, and they always had to travel so far to come to the races, and a lot of times they couldn't really afford to, especially under the conditions that we're all living under now, you know, with the economy now. Mm-hmm. And so we said, okay, the people said, that's where the people are. They want to go to the races. Just take the racetrack to them. So we built their ball field in their backyard, and so far they've come out, and it looks like they won't have a heck of a crowd this time too.
If you build it, they will come.
That's exactly right.
Well, it all begins on Thursday with the Camping World Truck Series. It'll be going on there. Friday night, you have the Nationwide Series, Feed the Children 300. Then Saturday, the big NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Quaker State 400. And obviously, Richard, you're still so actively involved on multiple levels. Even now, do you enjoy this part of it?
Yeah, you know, it's the same thing I've been doing my whole life. The only thing, I just don't drive the race car anymore, and they don't let me work on it either. But, yeah, you know, my dad went to the very first, in fact, I went to the very first Cup race there was in 1949. Been going ever since. So it's just a way of life. And, you know, we've got a nationwide car that we run. We've got a couple of Cup cars, and you know, I don't really do anything. I just show up, and you know, every once in a while I suggest something, and you know, then they don't let me come back. But it's just the deal of being there in so much of my life that hey, I just show up, and I don't guess I really contribute a whole lot, but have a lot of fun doing it.
Now, Richard, early on in the NASCAR history, it kind of had a feel of a kind of an outlaw feel, didn't it? And now, of course, it's come up with all the technical advancements, and the speed has certainly changed and so on. But you miss the old days of NASCAR.
Yeah, well, you see, you got to figure that when NASCAR first started, right after the war, there wasn't any professional football, baseball, basketball, or anything like that in the South. So the race guys said, okay, let's start this. And so racing became the Southern sport as far as Cup racing and stock cars and all that stuff. And, you know, at that particular time in the 50s, baseball was a national pastime. But it was from Chicago to Boston, from Boston to Washington. That was it. It was a northeastern sport as far as we was concerned. So we wasn't interested in baseball. And, you know, then once they got on TV, they went all over the country. We did the same thing in the last 15 to 20 years. We're all over the country. So it's a national sport now, and I'm just glad that I was here to see a lot of it happen.
I know, Richard, you're asked this all the time, but as you look back on your driving career, not necessarily what was a highlight, you know, because you had so many of them. But is there one thing that for you, you know, you're hanging around with some of your family or some of your old buddies, and you get to talking and telling stories like, you know, great athletes and one-time great athletes used to do. Is there one memory or moment that really stands out for you more than anything else?
Yeah, you know, like you said, we've just been doing it so long, you know,
right.
30, 31, 32 years. You had so many ups and so many downs and so many in-betweens. You know, I guess probably one of the most emotional situations I ever got into was the very last race that I ran, Cup race in '92. That was my farewell tour, and that was the very last race. And got in a little bit of accident, tore the car up, and my daughters and my wife got up in the back of the truck, and we was talking about. That's probably the most emotional I've ever been at a racetrack. Good win, lose, or draw, because it was the end of an era. They were crying because they were glad it was over with, and then it's crying because it was over with. I mean, so just a lot of mixed emotions. So that was probably the most emotional part, no matter how much we won or how much we lost or what happened. And when you look back at your career and say, you know, that was the end of my actual driving career, and it was a big, big moment for us.
2-2 to Scott Rowland, and that one is pulled foul. Well, you just keep on trucking, young man, and obviously there's so many of these young people. You know, you were talking about it being in the South, and Bill Bray, young man, as you threw out the first pitch today, but Bill Bray, you signed an autograph for before the ball game today. He grew up down in Virginia, and of course you guys have been racing down there forever and a day.
Yeah, we really have, and you know, it's good to send a couple of guys on both teams from Carolina. You know what I mean? You know they're from around, you never see them, and then you come here to the ballpark. They're professional athletes. You know what I mean? You watch them in college or high school ball, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're in the big leagues, but this is as big as you get in baseball. And so it's kind of humbling from time to time to say, you know, we think we're the biggest thing going, and then you come out and see what's going on here. Then you say you're just part of an overall scheme, and just glad you're here.
Hey, it's a real honor and a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming up.
Can I hold your hat, Richard? I've always wanted to do that. Hold that hat, and that is something else. What do you think about that?
There he is. He's the king.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Later, it's Miller time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. And welcome to Great American Ballpark. Top of the third inning. No score in the game. Pitcher against pitcher to begin the third inning. Matt Latos allowed the first two batters of the game to reach on a walk and a bunt hit. But then retired Braun, Ramirez, and Hart to end the inning and set the side down in order in the second.
Do not be misled by those numbers you see right there for Giovanni Gallardo. 103 batting average this year. You better pitch to him just like he is a middle of the order type hitter. He's got 9 home runs in his career. He's hit as high as 254 before, so. And he's had a year in which he's driven in 10 runs.
Gone swinging is Gallardo. That's 5 strikeouts through the first 9 batters of the game. In fact, 5 strikeouts of the last 7 Milwaukee batters. Well, Sunday, July the 15th, the Reds and the Cardinals will play under the lights on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock. If you buy 1 ticket at full price, you get 3 additional tickets at half price. They have the Reds braided necklace giveaway thanks to Delta for tickets. Reds and the Cardinals on a Sunday night. 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. First pitch strikes 9 of the first 10 batters. Latos, in fact, has thrown 18 consecutive strikes. Make it 19. There's a bunt down to Votto, 2 out. 19 strikes in a row for Matt Latos. Overall in the game, he's thrown 28 strikes and 7 balls. And remember, he walked the first batter of the game. Morgan, the last Brewer to reach on a bunt hit. Make it 20 consecutive strikes.
And
for
he's
Latos.
not just pumping just fastballs in there either. That last pitch was a changeup. He's got good control of his breaking ball, his fastball tonight. Well, you get a guy to swing at a pitch that hard and the ball actually hit the plate. That's how much that breaking ball of his is just dropping off a table.
And he strikes out Morgan on 3 straight pitches. 21 strikes in a row, and now 22 for Latos. Check out the exclusive pre-draft video report on what the Cavaliers might do. And don't forget to log on and chat with our Hall of Fame writer, Hal McCoy. It's all on FoxSportsOhio.com. Latter third for the Reds against Giovanni Gallardo here in the bottom of the third. Ryan Ludwig, Ryan Hannigan, and then Matt Latos. Reds have one base runner. That was a one-out walk to Stubbs in the opening inning.
Well, Ludwig has been so much better lately. Now, the batting average really hasn't shown, although it's come up now. He's got it up to 229. But he's just not chasing those teaser pitches low and away like he was earlier in the year when he was just trying to make something happen really from the first pitch of the AB on.
Like that pitch right there.
Yeah, I mean, the first three in this at bat have been right off the corner. Early in the year, he was chasing those and making himself a very easy out. You can just see the confidence in his eyes. Got a nice little 7-game hitting streak going.
It's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on that left field position, as we thought it might once Scott Rowland came back. You really didn't have to make a very big decision here of late, as there's a roller to the shortstop is Torres. One out. Because you had the advantage of, number one, you were playing interleague baseball on the road, so you could use a DH. You had Drew Stubbs on the disabled list, so it meant both Heise and Ludwig were going to play. And then use Frazier as a DH, or Frazier and left, and Ludwig as a DH. Well, now it's National League Baseball the remainder of the regular season. Rowland is back at third. Stubbs is now back in center. And what to do in left? Ryan Hannigan looks at a strike. Big crowd on hand here tonight for a Monday night. This will be by far the largest Monday night crowd the Reds have had in quite some time. School out virtually everywhere. Despite a very bumpy week where the Reds lost 5 out of 6, the bottom line is they're still in first place in the Central Division. And we're closing in on the 4th of July. Down the right field line, and this will be the first hit of the night. It's still rattling around there in the corner, and Hannigan, he thought about it and then slams on the brakes with a one-out double.
Boy, very dangerous when you use all parts of the ballpark, and Ryan Hannigan does it right inside the left or the right field line. Aoki will chase that ball around. He's got a good arm, and you know, even though Hannigan had a notion thinking about going to third base, he was smart to stay at second, and he is safe at second, safe and secure.
New York Life. Strike one to Latos. Only one hit for Matt in 20 at bats this year. Been a good bunter, has 6 sacrifices, but you know, why not let him swing away here with one out already in the inning and a runner out in scoring position. That's why you let him swing away. Hannigan had to make sure, and he'll advance on to third. It's only the second hit all year for Matt Latos. Well, he's got everything working so far tonight.
That's a good swing right there. He takes a fastball that's on the outer part of the plate and lines it the other way. Hit it where it's pitched. Well, you see, though, where Niger Morgan, the center fielder, is playing him so shallow and shaded a little bit to right. That ball on one hop went right to the center fielder. He's playing normal. That ball gets in there enough to drive a run in.
Ball one high to Zach Kozart, who popped up to the second baseman Weeks in short right field, leading off the Reds' first inning. Big time scoring chance here. Last time Kozart was in this spot with a runner at third and less than 2 men out, that was in that disappointing ninth inning, and this is a disappointment here as he is called out at first, and a double play ends the inning. So on Friday night, Kozart struck out in the ninth with 1 out, and with 1 out and a runner at third here tonight, a double play ends the inning. Well, you ought to play along with Fox Sports Ohio Tuesday night at foxsportsohio.com. You log on to our website, Tuesday night games now, and you answer the questions and follow along during the game. Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro will announce the winner on Reds Live after the game tomorrow night. So log on with us and play tomorrow on foxsportsohio.com. Reds miss a scoring chance there in the bottom of the third inning with runners on the corners and only 1 out. But Gallardo gets a double play ball, so we're scoreless as we're set to begin the 4th inning at Great American Ballpark.
Well, Matt Latos has been just simply dominant tonight, and the key for him is he's thrown a lot of strikes, throwing them early in the count, late in the count. He's had a very good breaking ball so far, and right now he has just been on top of his game, even so much so that he's got a base hit in his only at bat. Now the offenses for both clubs might change slightly, because now that the sun has set far enough that there's no more glare coming off that batter's eye, it's a little bit easier to see the ball out of the pitcher's hand.
3, 4, and 5 in the batting order. 22 consecutive strikes and make it 23 in a row for Matt Latos. Nine in a row retired by Matt, including 6 strikeouts. And the run began striking out Ryan Braun with 2 aboard and nobody out in the opening inning. Broken bat, 1 hopper. I don't know if I've ever seen a game where a pitcher has thrown 24 consecutive strikes. I have no doubt it's happened, but I cannot ever remember a pitcher throwing 24 pitches consecutively that were strikes.
Pretty good.
And that's the end of that run.
Should I tell him that you had chronicled it?
Well, we've done every one of them.
You jinxed him?
We've been doing it since 19. Guy can't throw the ball over the plate. It's not my problem.
I'll tell you what he's been able to do, though. He's effectively thrown that ball to the glove side of home plate. For a right-handed pitcher, that's the first base side. That is the hardest place for most pitchers, right-handers, to get that baseball. And in order to do that, you've got to have good alignment with your delivery.
High fly ball, left center field, tracking it as Stubbs. 2 out. I am told by our producer Josh Hall in the truck downstairs that earlier this year in a game for the Oakland Athletics, Bartolo Colon threw 38 consecutive strikes.
I did read that.
You did?
That was last year, was it not?
No, this year.
Was it this year? And I read it earlier this year.
It all kinds of comes together. I know the feeling.
No, you don't, but you will.
No, I do, actually. Unfortunately, quite well. Corey Hart, fly ball that'll back up Jay Bruce to the track. 1, 2, 3 for Latos. That's 12 in a row retired. No score. Stubbs, Votto, Phillips coming up. Coverage of the Reds along with the MLB.TV. Baseball everywhere. Well, you know the drill. If a Red hits a home run off that Toyota sign during our game, Robert Leach from Batavia, proud owner of a 2012 Camry, will win the beautiful new Tundra on display here at the ballpark. And why not register for your chance to win it? Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Big round of applause as they had an interview in between innings with a man we had here a short while ago, the King. And I don't mean Elvis, King of the Road, Richard Petty.
7 NASCAR championships, tied with Dale Earnhardt Jr. for most there. He won 200 races. Amazing.
Dale Earnhardt Sr. he is tied with, not Jr.
Did I say Junior? I meant Senior.
I know you. That's what you. The late Dale Earnhardt Sr. Well, I would like to have met him too. I mean, you know, we get a chance up here to meet some of these guys, and we had Kyle Busch in the booth a little over a week ago. What a delightful young man he is, and Richard Petty tonight. But boy, Dale Earnhardt, number 3.
The Intimidator.
Indeed.
You're the kind of guy probably have a number 3 on the bumper of your SUVs.
No doubt about it. No question about it. It's my main man. 2-2 to Drew Stubbs.
course, that's the car they have to leave at the right outside the gate.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And now it's hooked into the corner. So Stubbs will walk, and now a double in his first game back in the lineup. Boy, that's good to see. Really good to see.
Boy, nice easy swing right there. He walked the first time up. So, you know, you want Stubbs or Kozar top of the lineup on base path. Boy, he settled very nice on that breaking ball. And that was not all that bad of a pitch by Gallardo. Down at the very low end of the strike zone, he went down and swats that ball to left field, and maybe the Reds will be able to convert him.
Votto lined into a double play his first time up. He'll line it right at the right fielder. There's ball one low, and you wonder if he's going to get a lot to hit. I mean, granted, you're nobody out in the inning. Boy, how about that at bat? And the subsequent home run that he had in the 8th inning here yesterday after he had struck out twice. Mr. Diamond's a very impressive young left-hander. But boy, with a game on the line, bottom of the 8th inning, Votto comes up there. And to quote our cameraman right here in the booth, Jim Strickler, he willed himself into the 2-run home run.
It's a good way to put it. Because sometimes you get the feeling that he does that.
Two and one to Joey Votto. Everything away outside of the second pitch in this at bat.
It was interesting because the pitch that he hit for a home run, even though he hit it opposite field, was actually a pitch on the inner part of the plate yesterday. That's how much he is committed to hitting the ball away. I mean, hitting the ball the other way.
That was the old unintentional, intentional walk.
Why not? I mean, if you're Giovanni Gallardo, what do you have to prove by pitching to Joey Votto? We'll go through it pitch by pitch to show you what Gallardo wanted to do, which is stay away. Everything is either a sinker or a changeup or a breaking ball, down and away, down and away. If he gets a strike, it's going to be a perfect strike, and he's just trying to thread the needle right there. Votto wants to get himself out. He says, go ahead and do it. But I'm not going to give you anything good to hit. You know, Votto's got to be, except among pitchers, the most popular guy among every first baseman in the league. Because he's out there talking to them all the time. Either first or second.
You're right. And now Phillips puts down a bunt and advances the runner. When's the last time you saw a cleanup hitter put down a sacrifice to advance a pair?
And I'm not so sure that he meant that to be a sacrifice bunt, but they'll take it. The way that this game is unfolding right now, both pitchers seem to be on top of their ball games, and that's kind of a surprise attack right there by Brandon Phillips, but a nice play by Ramirez gets him at first base, but he gets the job done by moving runners over.
Well, now it's on the shoulders of young Jay Bruce, and here's a pitch, and it's a fastball taken outside. I think you're 100% right. I mean, he was trying to have that surprise attack turn into a bunt hit, but he clearly, you know, worst case scenario would have been exactly what happened.
Well, you've got a couple of guys in this lineup that have really done well against Gallardo, and there's one of them.
And Bruce stings it. That'll sail over the head. Braun in left field. Stubbs and Votto score. And Jay Bruce with a big 2-run double. That's the hardest ball he's hit to left field in quite some time.
Well, you can see where the pitcher missed his spot. Gallardo wanted to jam him. The ball came running right out over the center of the plate. A good look at that Exmo swing by Jay Bruce, an opposite field double. Performance Honda brings us that one. I'd like to see this again. Drives a couple of runs in, and just a nice, good level swing.
Scott Rowland. He struck out looking his first time up.
I'm a little surprised, really, that Gallardo pitched that aggressively to Bruce, given the fact that Bruce has killed him in the past. Hitting .450 against him, a couple of home runs.
Fastball in the outside corner to even a count of 2-2. Boys, great crowd tonight. I mean, it's one thing on a Friday, Saturday night, Monday night. I mean, they are nearly completely packed in here tonight for the opening game of this series. And the Reds giving them something to cheer about, taking this early 2-0 lead. Leadoff double by Stubbs, a walk to Votto, a sacrifice by Phillips. And Bruce drives in a pair with a double over Ryan Braun's head in left field.
You know what you have going tonight, Tom, and you can only really see it if you watch the uniform of the pitcher or the hair of Yovani Gallardo blow out there. You've got a pretty brisk wind blowing. There's not much really movement of the flags out there. There's a little bit. But that wind is right in the face of the pitcher, and that's going to make all those breaking balls that you throw up there a lot more effective because you're throwing them right into the teeth of the wind.
2-2 to count on Rowland, and now the pitch from Gallardo is a breaking ball in the dirt. You know where you see it, Chris, is just above our booth, and you're feeling it. Some of the bunting they still have from over the weekend. There you see it right above our booth. Really swirling around and blowing around. And now that you have your hair cut, that's not blowing around anymore.
It'll last a while.
Strike 3 called. Same pitch Rowland was called out on back in a second.
Boy, Scott was going to take exception. He took exception to the first time he was rung up on that pitch by Tim Timmons. Let's take another look at it with the Fox tracks up. Timmons giving the pitcher the benefit of the doubt tonight, and you know his number is 63.84. That's the percentage of strikes he throws, and that's on the upper end of the spectrum. By no means is it way out there. That's what he called last year as far as percentage of strikes. That percentage will run anywhere from 61 to 64.
Well, then he'd be quite a bit up there.
Yeah, he's up to 63.84. Yeah, he's right up there towards the top end.
So now Ryan Ludwig. Bruce still out at second base. 2 are out. Ball 1.
But you hate to see a guy get rung up on a pitch that's not a strike. I mean, it's one thing to call the 1-1 pitch a little bit off the corner for a strike, but to ring a guy up on a pitch that's not a real strike, that's where the crime is.
Well, Gallardo continues to try and get Ryan Ludwig to chase that pitch off the outside corner. He went to 3-0, then to 3-1 before grounding out to short his first time up. Now 2-0.
Hey, what I do like is that way this young Martin Maldonado catches behind the plate. Got nice hands.
He had a pitch to hit right there and fouled it straight back. it is one more time. Does he go back there once more and figures with 2 strikes in the at bat? 3-2 count, runner in scoring position, and Ludwig will chase it. That they do, and he doesn't chase it. Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach of the Milwaukee Brewers under their manager Ron Roenicke, will come out for a quick visit before they face a number 8 batter who doubled down the right field line for the first Reds hit of the game in the 3rd, Ryan Hannigan. Well, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting, healthier products for your menu. JTM. Two on, 2 out, and Hannigan waits. Well, you throw a pitch away to Hannigan, and he'll do what he did back in the 3rd inning and shoot that thing into right field. 2-0.
Thinking exactly that, the right fielder Norichika Aoki is actually hugging the line more than he was the first time against Hannigan.
Hits it to the right side, but on the ground, and Weeks is able to get there to retire the side. But the Reds strike for 2 on a 2-run double by Jay Bruce. Brought to you by JTM Food Group, creating great dishes together for the food service industry for over 30 years. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers, visit buyatoyota.com. And by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, the rethink possible along the river. Along the banks of the mighty Ohio. We'll take a peek over in the Kentucky side in a minute. AT&T trivia question. Name the last National League most valuable player not from the Central Division. That is an excellent question.
All right, so last year you had Ryan Braun. Year before that you had Joey Votto.
Then I think, 2 years in a row, I believe it was Albert Pujols. He won 3, I believe, overall. That is a really good question. Now, there are a lot of people out there going, come on, that's as easy as it gets. I have a guess. Last Red with 20 or more strikes consecutively was Bronson Arroyo against these Brewers back in 2010. I am thinking Ryan Howard.
It's a good guess right there.
I am being told by our statistician Joe Luckup that is incorrect. Ricky Weeks to lead off the Brewers' 5th, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Latos struck him out.
Well, he is just swinging at just about anything that moves up there right now. Getting paid big money, carrying around a batting average of less than 185 at this point in the season. I mean, at one time, this guy was a feared hitter. You just wonder what happened. You can see him start leaning, kind of drifting with his nose and his head kind of leaning towards the outer part of the plate. You lose all balance when you start doing that.
Gone swinging on the same pitch, and that is 7 of them in the game for Matt Latos.
Well, Latos has his curveball and his slider working tonight. Here's the slider. He'll throw that about 84 miles an hour. That one at 85, and what a good spot.
We are only through 4 1/3 innings here tonight, but Latos is pitching tonight like the Latos the San Diego Padres saw for nearly 2 full years. Just dominant, overpowering stuff with a lot of strikes.
Well, when the Reds targeted him, all the pitchers that they looked at, they wanted a young guy that they could have under their control for a while. They had plenty of good prospects to give up in return, and he was the guy that came to the top of their list based on his stuff, based on his age, based on his contractual status. Well, if he can get in a groove and start throwing the ball like this every time out.
Well, that's the only way you're going to get on base against him, when he's throwing the ball like this. And Maldonado with a bunt hit.
That's a smart play for that kid. I mean, they're giving it to him. They're playing a couple of steps back there at third base. You see where Roland is, and you don't expect the opposing catcher to drop a bunt down, but man, he rolled it out there in perfect spot.
And that will end a string of 13 batters in a row set down by Latos. 4 of his first 6 pitches of the game were balls. He has thrown 5 pitches out of the strike zone of the last 47 that now he has thrown. 42 strikes and 5 balls. And now Gallardo. Struck out looking his only at bat in the game. Reds with a 2-0 lead, and there's strike 1. First pitch breaking ball.
Well, I'm sure they went over the scout report, and one of the things everybody said, hey, don't fall asleep with Gallardo up there, because he does have home run power, has 9 of them. That's a lot for a pitcher.
Broken bat. Phillips is there, and the inning is over. Halfway home, Reds behind Latos, a 2-0 lead. And Jeff Pecoro, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, right here on Fox Sports Ohio. All right, time to answer our Fox Sports Ohio trivia question. I guessed Ryan Howard. I was told I was very close, but that was not the answer.
Meaning that was from the same team, but not Ryan Howard. How about that? It's a long time ago to have an MVP from somewhere other than this National League Central Division.
Yeah, there we go. It was Pujols 2 years in a row. Ryan Howard won it the year prior to Jimmy Rollins. And Votto in 2010 and Ryan Braun last year. And boy, the race is on for this year. I mean, Matt Kemp started the season, of course, a landslide, runaway, no doubt about it. Was clearly the front runner. And obviously a long season, but then Kemp got hurt. And now a lot of other guys have certainly put their name in the mix, and right near the top of that list, if not at the top of the list, again, is Joey Votto. Tell you what, whether or not he ends up being the MVP, time will tell. But I don't know about you, Chris Welsh, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree. There is no other player that we have seen that I want batting for my team with a game on the line ahead of Joey Votto. Nobody.
I agree. I've never seen anybody grind it out day in and day out like Joey Votto. Not that bad yesterday when he hit that opposite field home run to put the Reds up. That's kind of the epitome of it. I mean, that puts it all together in a capsule for you, because he looked horrible at the plate first couple of times up. I mean, looked as bad as he's ever looked. And he willed himself to put the Reds up. Amazing.
Latos on swinging. Make your reservation today for the Frontigate Outdoor Luxury Suite, most luxurious seating section here at Great American Ballpark. Just to our left, behind the plate, group of 30 or as many as 48. An all-inclusive price right now. Reserve your game date calling the Reds Group Sales 765-7600. Reds leading 2-0 as they bat here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Nobody on, 1 out. Zach Cozart 0 for 2. Phillies all over the Pirates, 7-2. That game in the 5th inning, and a tight one down in Miami. Opening game of that series. The Marlins in the 5th, a 1-0 lead over the Cardinals. The Reds, by losing 5 of 6, have allowed not only the Pirates but the Cardinals to get considerably closer than they were just 1 week ago tonight, when the Reds were coming back from Citi Field on a 6-game winning streak. They were 11 games over 500, and they had built a 4-game lead in the National League Central. But then, of course, they lost 3 in a row to Cleveland before dropping 2 of 3, including that really tough loss here yesterday against Minnesota. Pitch, and he walked him. That is 4 of them in the game, 3 in the last inning and a third for Giovanni Gallardo.
Yeah, that's the one thing the Brewers are fairly noticing from time to time, more and more often, about Gallardo. He has a lot of guys on base, given the fact that he gives up just about 1 hit per inning, which isn't bad. But he's walked 38 batters in 89 innings, so he's walking 3 or 4 batters a ball game to go on top of those hits.
And now Stubbs, who's had a very good night, has drawn a walk, led off the 4th inning with a double, and scored the first run. a pitch to just hammer right there and fouled it straight back. And I thought for a minute there you saw a little wince from Stubbs, but perhaps not.
Well, he said that he's not 100%, but he has no pain. And I think what he means by not being 100% is that he's not really, at least before the ball game, said he wasn't seeing the ball great, wasn't sure how he was going to be in game speed and so on. But he played 3 games down there in Nabal, so evidently the injury that he had is okay.
First time Gallardo has retired Drew tonight. And now with a runner at first and 2 out. Here's Joey Votto. Line to right field that turned into a double play with Stubbs running, ending the first inning. And walked and scored in the 4th. Hit right on the nose, but right at Weeks. A man left. We played 5, and the Reds still lead 2-0.
Day with you. We're down here by the Reds dugout. What a Hall of Fame weekend that the Reds just put on. It was capped off last night by the Hall of Fame induction gala. And I think Tom and Chris can back me up on this. There is not anyone in Major League Baseball that puts on a better show like this than the Cincinnati Reds. All the great Hall of Famers of the past came back to induct 3 new people into the Hall of Fame. The late John Riley, Dan Dreesen, and Sean Casey. Marty Brenneman, Tom Brenneman were the master of ceremonies. All the broadcasters got to take part in it as well. And, of course, the highlight of the night, Sean Casey brought the house down with a 29-plus minute speech, which I think everyone could have sat for an hour and 29 minutes because it was truly one of the best speeches ever. Gentlemen?
Well, you are not kidding about that, Jim Day. That speech, and we're hoping, by permission of the Reds and probably some other folks, that we can bring that speech to all the Reds fans out there here on Fox Sports Ohio in its entirety. It was just unbelievable. I mean, it was more than just fun and humorous. It was touching because he had so many different people to thank growing up. Of course, his mom and dad and family and friends and so on. But there were a number of former Reds players that were not in the Reds Hall of Fame that came on their own so that they could honor Sean Casey in his induction. I mean, that's the kind of impact that he had with some of his teammates. Tell you what I saw last night, I'm sure you did, Chris, had a chance to talk with him for a short while, and he's really gotten his life straightened out and turned around. He's lost over 70 pounds. I could have walked right by him in a hallway of 2 people and never recognized Dimitri Young. Yeah, he looked great. He really did. Trying to get back in baseball. He's got an indoor baseball facility out in California. He's giving lessons in. That ball's in the air to right field, and the Brewers are on the board, and all of a sudden this is a one-run ball game.
You know, you'd think because Matt Latos has struck out 7 batters and he's only given up a couple of hits and he's been throwing so many strikes that this is almost a runaway ball game. But now that it's a lot easier to see the baseball, you're going to see better swings. And Aoki, a guy that is not known for his power, just stepped right into that one. I'll tell you, the scouts that I talked to about Aoki, they are very impressed. The guy's just a solid player.
And when the year began, it didn't look like he was going to get a lot of playing time.
Well, they've had injuries. Of course, he's playing right field. That's where Corey Hart used to patrol. But now that they needed a first baseman, they put Hart at first, and they like the way Hart's been playing at first base defensively. So Aoki essentially has hit his way into the lineup.
0-2 on Nyjer Morgan.
You know, some of the other guys who were there last night to honor Casey, John Riedling came back.
Yep.
Chris Rietsma was there. Aaron Boone came in. Now, I'm having a hard time remembering, but Casey rattled them off one after another and didn't forget anyone.
See, did he say John Hudek was there last night?
I didn't see John Hudek.
I thought Sean Casey said him. I didn't say that. Maybe not.
That was John Riedling, I think.
I beg your pardon. Cozart behind the bag quickly has to get it to Votto to get to Speedy Morgan. 1 out. Well, to give you an idea, not only his former teammates, but the man who originally was running the scouting department and the player development department, now the president of the Cleveland Indians. Mark Shapiro flew in for the event last night. That's very impressive. When a team had traded you away, the first club you ever signed with, when the top dog in that franchise shows up, great night.
You're right.
Great night.
I'll tell you, Dan Dreesen was an impressive guy, too. I never really got to know Dan, playing against him. Never played with him when I was with the Reds, but that guy could hit, let me tell you that. And he was very soft-spoken, and they made a big deal about that last night, but he did a great job with his speech as well.
Boy, and how about that family? His daughter got up there and introduced him. So impressive, and you can tell that that's a rock-solid together family.
Well, I didn't know about Dan Dreesen. He's from Hilton Head, South Carolina. And then he said when he got off of Hilton Head, you know, when he signed a professional contract, really the first time he ever been away from home very much, that he had a hard time understanding people and having people understand him because of how they spoke in Hilton Head was different than how they spoke in, say, the rest of South Carolina.
And you got to remember, I mean, you're talking about Dan Dreesen, a young man who was growing up in Hilton Head before Hilton Head became Hilton Head. I mean,
gotcha.
You know, you're talking about back in those days was there's a swing and a miss by Braun. I'm not going to call it desolate, but it's not far from desolate when you're talking the 1950s.
Yeah. Well, that's the second time that he's gone upstairs to get Ryan Braun.
You know, just to tie a ribbon around last night, what was he? The great nephew of John Riley, a young man who got up there and accepted, you know, the induction on behalf of the Riley family. He traveled from Kentucky, where he makes his home. And the young man was involved in a terrible accident 2 weeks ago. And as recently as 2 days ago, had major nose surgery. I mean, he had broken bones, a number of surgeries to his face and his body. You'd have never known him seeing up there, and what a great job he did.
I think he was only 18 years old. He's on his way next year to be a freshman at Cumberland College. I wish I remembered his last name. It was Chris. Anyway, he did a great job. Very nice young man. That whole family was great. Okay, it wasn't Chris. It was Curtly.
Curtly
Kinman. What a nice young man. Great family. From Versailles, Kentucky.
2-2. Swing and a miss, and that is 9 of them in a game for Latos. Brewers get the home run from Aoki. And it is a 1-run game as the Reds bat in the 6th. Greatest stars will battle for home field advantage in the Fall Classic. The road to the World Series begins. Well, the MLB All-Star Game, Tuesday, July the 10th, 7:30 Eastern Time on Fox. That's 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Josh Hamilton, I mean by a country mile, the leading vote getter. And I mean by a country mile and a half. Over 7 million votes. We'll bring in the National League, and now that's stacking up tomorrow night. Saw where they're turning the Josh Hamilton story into a major motion picture.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to play Josh Hamilton in that?
Good question. 2-0 to Brandon Phillips. I tell you what, if they put the sort of money and production value into that movie like they did the Moneyball movie, that'll be one big-time movie, because it's an unbelievable story.
It is. Much more of a human interest story than Moneyball.
Sure. But, you know, you roll a guy out there like Brad Pitt in a movie like that's going to be a big-time film, right? And
well, that's why it was a good film, because Brad Pitt was in it.
Yeah. But that Josh Hamilton story is, I can't wait till it comes out. 3-0 on Brandon Phillips. And there's that strike on the outer edge again.
I'll tell you what, one thing about Tim Timmons tonight, he's been consistent. He's probably had both dugouts barking at him at one time or another. And now he's looking over to the Reds dugout and Dusty Baker saying, hey, I don't want to hear it anymore. Dusty Baker saying in return, I don't want to see that kind of call anymore. Remember, what you can see from the dugouts is really only north and south. So and you can see it pretty well. In fact, you might see it as well as an umpire does as far as the height of the pitch. You can't tell if it's over the plate or not. You can tell if the catcher reaches for it. But if a ball looks low from the dugout, chances are it's low.
Three-two delivery. Hit hard, but right at the right fielder. Jay Bruce put the Reds in front 2-0 with a 2-run double over the head of Braun back in the 4th inning. Well, where in Cincinnati, USA is Jim Day? Stay tuned to Fox Sports Ohio and follow the Reds live host as he visits Cincinnati, USA's attractions and events. I'm almost wondering, you know, with the Olympic Games coming up, and of course we have the Olympic Games of Music
World Choir Games
coming up in Cincinnati in a couple of weeks. Is Jim Day going to be like a prime time host of the World Choir Games on CincinnatiUSA.com? If he's not, he should be. And that is taken out of the knees to Jay Bruce. 2-1.
Boy, good night the pitch if you're a sinker ball pitcher.
Two and two to count on Bruce. Off the inside corner, running the count full. That ball driven hard into left center field, but Morgan will run it down. That's another hard hit ball by Bruce to the left of center.
Yeah, two hard hit balls in this inning, actually. The line drive right to right field by Brandon Phillips, and then that one. Here's a guy that has not been too happy with Tim Timmons behind the plate so far. A couple of strikeouts looking by Scott Rowland.
100th pitch of the night for Gallardo. Strike one. And you can see that win that Chris brought up earlier. The long hair of Gallardo. Swirling wind inside around the home plate area and then coming back out to the mound. Flags brought up earlier. Really not indicative of what they're feeling down there on the field in the crowd. Well, it's a great night to be sitting in the crowd.
Yeah, it is. Makes the breaking ball better. That was really the whole point of knowing that when you got the wind right in your face as a pitcher, you don't always like that because you look up and that means the wind's blowing out too. I mean, out now in most ballparks here it kind of swirls. But when you got it in your face, your breaking ball is going to always snap off just a little bit better.
1-2 on Rowland. Phillies still leading the Pirates. That's a 7-3 game now at the end of 5. And they're already in the 7th inning in Miami. Marlins 2, Cardinals nothing. Here the Reds have a 1-run lead. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Gallardo looking for that call for a 3rd time tonight on Rowland.
Yeah, Rowland was wondering too. We may have had a little snappage if he rung him up on that.
rolling 5 out of 10 on the homestand, including the 0 for 2 tonight. There's strike 3 this time on the inside corner, and this time no quarrel from Rolen. We move to the 7th. Still a 1-run affair. The Matt Latos shows so far here tonight. Reds take him to a 2-0 lead on a 2-run double by Jay Bruce in the 4th inning. Brewers did not get on the board until a leadoff home run in the 6th by Aoki. See the numbers here for Latos. Since his last loss back in mid-April against the Cardinals, high ERA, but 5-0 record, and the Reds have hit when he's been on the mound. Although not much tonight. This is the kind of game at Latos. Reds are leaning hard on the big fella here tonight to be able to nail this thing down.
Well, what he's always had, and it makes him so intriguing for the Reds last year when they targeted him to trade for him, was exceptional pitches. He's got an exceptional fastball and an exceptional slider. And that breaking ball that he's throwing tonight has been definitely a swing and miss pitch. He is never beaten the Brewers. He's only had 2 starts against them, but he's tagged with both losses.
One and 2 the count on Hart. Count even at 2-2. Of course, it's gotten to the point now, Chris, where you know, if you're not inside a team's division anymore, you might miss a team for an entire year or 2, depending on how the rotation flips over and when you play them.
But the Reds, how about that breaking ball on the corner? Corey Hart doesn't like it. Tim Timmons is not making himself very much of a favor to any of the hitters tonight, but the pitchers will take it. Let's take another look at it. Little Exmo look at this pitch from center field, right over the top, slider on the corner. You be the judge. Too close to take. That Exmo courtesy of Performance Honda.
10 strikeouts for Matt Latos.
You know, let's break it out for Matt Latos home and away. And he's been very good right here at home. You'd think a fly ball pitcher like Latos would really struggle here, but he's 4-1 with an earned run average, respectable here. Where he's had his problems is on the road. 18 swing and misses for Latos in that slider tonight.
1-1 on Weeks. He has struck out swinging twice, but again, this is still only a one-run game, as dominant as Latos has been. And that ball is hit hard the other way down the line towards the corner, and it's a fair ball. And that is a double for Weeks, and the tying run is now in scoring position with 1 out.
Well, that's a whole different swing that Ricky Weeks puts on a ball when he gets a fastball than a breaking ball, isn't it? I mean, he doesn't exactly knock the cover off this ball, but he stays behind it nice. But you compare that to some of the swings that he's had earlier on the night on breaking balls, where he looks like he's had no clue.
Well, which would beg the question then, Chris, is why would you throw him the fastball?
Well, you're mixing it up. I mean, he did throw him a fastball his second time up. I think he got one upstairs by him. But if you're dominating a guy with a certain pitch, my philosophy is make that guy make the first adjustment.
Well, there you see the curveball that drops in there to Maldonado. Had a bunt hit his last time up, ending a string of 13 in a row at the time retired by Latos.
Well, even though he dropped one down, Scott Rowland hasn't moved. He's telling this young catcher, if you want to drop another bunt down, I'll take it, or I'll let you do it.
Oh, 1 pitch. Ooh, he had a pitch to hit right there. Latos may have gotten away with one. 94. But that was a big hack by Maldonado.
Yeah, they're very high on this young man. They're not sure yet how much he's going to hit. But they like his stage presence in the batter's box. They love what he does behind the plate as a catcher. Young man that while he was growing up in Puerto Rico idolized Pudge Rodriguez, the Molina brothers.
Tying run at second, 1 out, 0-2 on Maldonado. Got him swinging on the high gas. 2 out. And Latos matches his career high. 11 strikeouts on the night.
Now he's got a big crowd here tonight, and they are some kind of fired up. And that in turn should even more fire up Matt Latos. You know why? Because once a pitcher gets 11 strikeouts, or when Reds pitchers get 11 strikeouts in a ball game, I guess all you do is show your ticket stub and you get a free pizza and a Coke.
And ice cream.
And ice cream. Pizza and ice cream. That's a good deal. I may have to check the stands out on the way home, see if I can find a ticket stub.
Bring like Randy Johnson out of retirement and have him only pitch home games. All right, one more big out to go here. It's a 1-run ball game. You have the number 8 hitter is Torres. There is action in the Milwaukee bullpen with a pitcher spot due up next. And they send up a pinch hitter right now, in fact, for his Torres, and it's George Kataris. Backup catcher. This guy can hit. Some nights you're going to win 8-7. Some nights you got to win 2-1. And tonight might be one of those nights for Latos. He's fallen behind Kataris at 2-0. We have Cameron Lowe getting ready in the bullpen. Travis Ishikawa, left-handed batting, first baseman. And part-time outfielder waiting in the on-deck circle. 2-0 pitch. 3-0. Only the second 3-ball count of the game for Matt Latos. 3 balls, no strikes. Threw him a 3-0 breaking ball. And that is his first walk since the first batter of the game. So now Brian Price will come out of the dugout and have a quick visit. Latos at the 85 pitch mark. And you've got Ishikawa coming up. And if there's anybody on this Milwaukee team that probably has seen Latos, you know, up close and personal, not necessarily in total number of at-bats, because Ishikawa was not a regular player for the Giants. But Ishikawa has spent his entire career with the Giants, playing inside the National League West, until joining the Brewers this season.
Well, he has seen him a few times, Tom, but he's 0 for 2 against him. A lot different looking at him from the dugout than it is looking at him from the left-handed batter's box.
I figure he got a few more starts than that.
I would think so, too.
And this one is in the air, pulled foul and out of play. I mean, you think about how poor the Giants have been on offense the last couple of years, and especially at a couple of spots where Ishikawa plays. Audrey Huff. And there are some other guys that really haven't done much.
Well, he got away with a hanging breaking ball right there. Yep. Ishikawa was all over it, just a hair out front.
Oh, and 1 to Ishikawa. Tying run at second, lead run at first. 1-1. One pitch. Roller to Phillips. Tying run stranded, lead run stranded. They stand and stretch. Reds with a 1-run lead. Official Reds baseball and softball camps presented by Safeco Insurance. All campers get your own Reds uniform, special instruction from a Reds coach, on-field VIP experience here at the ballpark, and a guest appearance by a current Red. For information on the official Reds camps, visit reds.com/camps today. Brian Price, Matt Latos talking down there in the dugout. A couple of changes for the Brewers. Cody Ransom takes over at shortstop after they hit for Torres. And now taking over on the mound, having another good year for this team, is Cameron Lowe.
Yeah, big guy. Cameron Lowe's 6 feet 8 inches tall, about 240 pounds. And most everything he will throw will just sink. You think a big guy like that's going to throw hard? Not necessarily so. What he does is get lots of ground balls.
Excellent outing again for Giovanni Gallardo. Two-hopper club down to Ramirez. Long throw, 1 out. Now, Giovanni Gallardo, I got to tell you, it's one thing, it goes to show you how sometimes, not often, for a starting pitcher, but how sometimes numbers can be misleading. For a reliever, it happens pretty regularly, or can anyway. But for a starter, halfway through a season, you see a guy with an ERA up over 4, you're thinking, so-so year. But again, you take away the 2 starts that didn't even last a total of 5 innings against the Cardinals. And both of those starts were in the first 3 weeks of the season. And Giovanni Gallardo's ERA is now under 3. I mean, he is on a serious roll right now. The Reds only got 2 off of him.
Well, he is. He's very good at pitching out of trouble. But what he did tonight, like he's done several other times, is walked batters. He walked 4 tonight in 6 innings. You add that to the 4 hits that they got, and then he's turned around. He's got runners on a lot. But he's been very, very good at pitching out of jams.
Hannigan hit a double that way early in the game. But this one is caught in foul ground, and just like that, there are 2 outs, and Latos is going to bat. Right at the 90 pitch mark so far tonight for Latos.
Yeah, I think he's got plenty of pitches left in him. The way he's throwing, I'm not so sure you go down the bullpen and bring anybody out who's throwing the ball any better than Latos is right now. The worrisome part for the Brewers, though, is every time Ron Renick goes to the bullpen, he's got to be having his fingers crossed, because they have not been very good out of the bullpen so far this year. They pitched a lot of innings.
Latos a 2-hit night.
Man, oh man, you have a night like that. How can you take him out? You're the bullpen leader. This is team bullpens in the National League. Reds and the Pirates are atop the leaderboard there, and down near the bottom, almost 2 runs per game worse than the Reds bullpen is the Brewers bullpen. That's why Ron Renick doesn't really want to go out there unless he has to.
And then Cozart goes up there, and first pitch, Hacken pops it up into foul ground, and look, as he flips over, does hard and lands on his feet, and then Homer Bailey came over there to make sure he didn't lose his footing after that. Good effort by Corey Hart.
I'll tell you what, Corey Hart's about 6'5" or 6'6". This is a pretty athletic move for a guy this big. Check it out.
That's with your mug right up against that fencing, too. Watch his face. Straight into it. Watch this coming right at you. Bam. Fortunate young man. So railing down there at the bottom.
That's a tough guy right there. Bowling Green, Kentucky guy. Wait till he sees it on video. That's when his neck will start to hurt.
You're right about that. Hitting over. We march on to the 8th. Latos protecting a 1-run lead.
14th through the 15th. On Saturday, July 14th, arrive early and be one of the first 20,000 fans to the gates. And you get to take home a Reds lawn flag courtesy of Queen City Sausage. For tickets to see your Red Legs battle the St. Louis Cardinals on Saturday, July 14th, call 513-381-REDS. Select Kroger locations or Reds.com and do it today.
Or stay tuned each and every night of Reds baseball. It's Reds Live, presented by King's Honda. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, and company standing by for Reds Live. Here are the numbers for Matt Latos. Tied a career high, 11 strikeouts in the game, has allowed 4 hits, a 1 run, a solo home run.
I got to figure that Matt Latos, after his last start out there, he went 4 innings, gave up 7 runs against the Indians. Didn't feel good, didn't look good, had a bad night overall. He had something to prove to himself, his teammates, the fans. He came out here tonight ready. Dusty Baker gave him 1 extra day's rest the way it worked out because they wanted to separate Bronson Arroyo and Mike Leake in the rotation, so that worked to give Latos an extra day, and boy, he's come out very strong tonight.
Well, here's a man that got him for the home run. Aoki pulled one down the right field line into the Brewers bullpen, leading off the 6th inning. He's also bounced a Votto and drawn a walk.
The Reds have bullpen. Andrusig is up and throwing just in case.
Good fastball there by Latos, 2-1 on Aoki.
Guy not afraid to choke up.
That was a home run ball. Accounting for the lone Brewers run so far in the game tonight. Latos, 2-2 pitch. Got him to pop it up. Stubbs coming in to get it. Nigel Morgan, a butt hit in the 1st inning, struck out looking in the 3rd and grounded to short in the 6th. Strike 1. Routine for Brandon. So now a big battle in a 1-run game. Best player in the Milwaukee team.
The best player in the league last year, and he's off to a pretty good start already this year. He called almost the first half point to start. See what he's done against the Reds so far this year. A couple of home runs, 3 knocked in, a .467 average, but that 0 for 3 tonight. Latos has been very successful throwing high fastballs right by Ryan Braun. Can he do it again?
Struck him out twice on those high fastballs and got him on a broken back ground ball to Phillips. First pitch swinging, and this will roll foul.
First pitch slider. Well, Latos' slider tonight, I mean, is going straight down. A lot of guys throw a slider and they'll say, well, it's a little bit flat. It goes from side to side. But when he stays on top of it, and you can see with his arm angle, as high as he throws that ball straight overhand, he gets on top of that slider and it just falls right off the table.
there it was right there.
I mean, you read it as a fastball, you think it's a fastball, you take a swing like you're right on it, and all of a sudden it disappears. When he throws it right, it's one of the best around.
So now Latos trying to get through the 8th inning. Good night, Irene. Career high 12th strikeout of the night for Matt Latos.
More ice cream and pizza.
2-1 Reds off to the bottom of the 8th inning. The game in the 4th inning, a scoreless game. Jay Bruce drives one over the head of Braun in left field for a 2-run double. Accounting for the only 2 the Reds have scored, but right now that's good enough for a 1-run lead. Cameron Lowe begins his 2nd inning of work, and Drew Stubbs is on base for the 3rd time tonight. A walk, a double, a strikeout, a run scored, and now a single for Drew Stubbs.
Isn't that really all you want from Drew Stubbs, is to get him on the base pass? Somebody on base ahead of Joey Votto. Performance Honda, look at that Exmo, a little bit of the jam shot right there, but you keep your hands inside the ball and muscle it into right field. Brewers, a new pitcher for Ron Renicky and his crew, and left-hander Manny Parra, former starter. He started for several years for the Brewers, and now he is only in the bullpen this year, 29th appearance. And he gets the challenge of facing Joey Votto. Parra's been pretty good against left-handers. He's held him to a .222 batting average overall, but the guy in the batter's box is no ordinary left-hander.
And you always get concerned if you're the opposition where you get late into a game and Votto does not have a hit. 0 for 2 has walked and scored a run. I mean, this is where Votto, and we see it day after day, night after night, late in the game, tight game. Illustrated yet again yesterday. His club down a run in the bottom of the 8th inning with a man aboard. Club's a 2-run home run. You can't do it every time. Oh, he had a pitch to hit. He'd like to have that one back. You just look at the guy. This guy's dialed in, man. Dialed in. His numbers here in the month of June are just, it's almost unspeakable. Some of the numbers this guy has put up this month. #1 in the National League in the major leagues in batting average. #1 in the major leagues on base percentage. #1 in the major leagues in slugging percentage. #2 in hits. 2nd in doubles. Batting over .430 for this month. That's 2 pitches now. In this at bat that he'd like to have again.
Well, he always protects himself when he faces the left-hander against that left-hander's breaking ball. That's why you see him foul off so many fastballs that he looks like he's late on, because he doesn't want to get out ahead and be fooled on the curveball.
Stubbs at first, nobody out. 2-2 to Votto. Parra looking, now the pitch. And he got fooled there.
Well, he threw it down and in, and that's the one spot that you don't really expect the left-hander to throw a breaking ball right in there. Because Votto is unlike a lot of lefties. That's not his wheelhouse down there.
Well, that almost had the movement, Chris, almost of a changeup from a left-hander. I know you saw a breaking ball there, but, you know, over the weekend it was the first time I've seen in a long time. Franklin Morales, who has pitched so beautifully in 2 starts for the Boston Red Sox. I mean, left-handed batter after left-handed batter after left-handed batter of the Atlanta Braves was throwing changeups, lefty to lefty. You don't see that a lot.
Used to be that you were discouraged as a left-handed pitcher to throw that pitch to a left-handed hitter. They'd say, hey, your fastball and curveball or slider should be enough. But now there are more lefty on lefty changeups and righty on righty changeups.
Now, I know many of you may be wondering, Latos, as the runner is going and it throws late. Stubbs has had an excellent night tonight. First game back off the disabled list. 3 times on base, a run scored, and now a stolen base.
He had a big jump right there from Manny Parra. And he did not give young Martin Maldonado much of a chance to throw him out at all, but Maldonado made it pretty close.
Oh, did he ever? That's quite a throw, man. A little breathing room out there at second. But we're starting to bring up a point. I know a lot of you are thinking. I know what you're thinking, Chris. You and I were talking about it in between innings. What's Dusty Baker going to do tonight? You You've got a starting pitcher who has just been overwhelmingly dominant. Does Latos start the 9th inning? Or do you bring on your struggling closer, Aroldis Chapman?
I think it's a no-brainer, Tom. Now, I'm not sure how Dusty's going to play it, but you have 3 right-handers coming up in the Brewers order. You have Latos, who's been simply dominant tonight, and he's thrown fewer than 100 pitches. I think he's at 98. So I'm running Latos out there until he gets in trouble to the point where I think he needs a savior, and then I go get Chapman. But that's just an opinion. So they're free up here in the third level.
That ball is crushed into straightaway center field, and it's going to bring in another run. Brandon Phillips with a double to make it a 3-1 lead.
That breeds a little bit of comfort in that dugout with Dusty Baker now. Got a couple of runs with which to work. You've got another runner on second base in scoring position. And Parrott has got that little changeup up right there. Tried to sneak it by Brandon Phillips, and Brandon hits it right to the base of the center field wall.
RBI number 45 for Brandon Phillips. And now Jay Bruce, who has swung the bat well tonight. Phillips takes off. Throw down to third. And he's in there safely. Well, that's something we really haven't seen much of the last couple of years from Brandon Phillips.
Man, I love that kind of baseball. And it happens more against a left-handed pitcher than a right-handed pitcher. But if you get a feeling that he's not paying attention to you, and there are no infielders really jockeying you back to second base, you take it. Because now you've got a catcher, even with a left-handed hitter up there, you've got a catcher that's going to have to quickly throw it. You've got a third baseman coming from way off the bag to try to field that throw. I love that kind of baseball. Now you get a fly ball to bring him in.
For a broken bat, one hopper that won't. Tag is made for the second out of the inning.
It's a nice play by Corey Hart.
Comes Ron Rudicke, and I'm sure we'll see a right-hander come on from his bullpen. It looks like Big Livan Hernandez throwing the ball down there, and it is. We'll be back. Valley Children's ranked number 3 in the nation again in U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals. And by the dependable, long-lasting Chevy Silverado and your Tri-State Chevy dealers. All right, runner at third, a run home. Reds lead 3-1. We're in the last of the 8th inning. Scott Rowland, the batter, and the new pitcher, been around seemingly forever.
Well, yep, every time some team cuts him loose, another team will pick him up, and that's what happened here on Friday when he was picked up by the Milwaukee Brewers. 19 appearances now for Livan Hernandez. This matchup has happened before. They have faced each other 37 times. And in their history, Livan Hernandez has had pretty much the 37 at-bats. If you want to add the 6 walks that he's picked up, that will be 43 plate appearances. A .216 average.
Isn't that amazing? But 43 at-bats against the same pitcher that you really have never, or at least not to my knowledge, thinking of it now, you have never played inside the same division against. Rowland played for the Cardinals. Livan Hernandez maybe for with the Florida Marlins there for a little while.
Yeah, played for the Phillies. I mean, look at this one. He's faced Juan Pierre 94 times. Man.
Struck him out, not a living inning. All right. Will it be Latos? Will it be Chapman? Just been Matt Latos, just wearing people out. A career high 12 strikeouts. He's only allowed the solo home run to Aoki back in the 6th inning. And now to answer your question, it's Matt Latos climbing up the back of the mound, a big deep breath, ball in hand to begin the bottom of the top of the 9th inning.
Well, it's been 2 years and a month since Matt Latos has had a complete game, his only complete game of his career. And that was a one-hitter against the San Francisco Giants.
Latos coming off such a poor outing in Cleveland on the last road trip. An extra day of rest. And here he is in his 15th start as a Red, trying to go the distance.
Well, he's pumped up. We talked about body language early on when the first 2 guys reached. He's turned that completely around now. He might even be overthrowing just a little bit here in the 9th inning.
75 strikes against just 26 balls. 101 total pitches for Latos. 3 pitches into the 9th inning. And now 3-1.
Hey, you don't know how long his leash is. Maybe a little longer now since the Reds scored one in the bottom of the 8th to give him a 2-run lead.
Feel this crowd trying to really get behind Latos. And a tapper down to third, should be out number 1, and it is.
I'll tell you who gave the biggest sigh of relief right there is probably Dusty Baker. I mean, he doesn't want to have to make the decision to take Latos out of a game and go to the bullpen.
Now Corey Hart. In the air, right field. Bruce with room. And now this crowd of nearly 35,000 on this beautiful Monday night at Great American Ballpark will rise as one, trying to get Latos one more out. Down to their final out and perhaps their final strike. Doing it tonight from Matt Latos. Second career complete game. A career high 13 strikeouts. Simply brilliant on this Monday night in Cincinnati.
Boy, he took control of this ball game and ended it with an exclamation point. A perfect slider. All night long he had that slider working, and this one puts away Ricky Weeks for strikeout number 13. Yes, Matt Latos. He carried his ball club tonight.
That's a guy they were looking for when they were shipping a whole pile full of players out to get him. Big time performance by Matt Latos. Reds win 3-1.